Hello and welcome to day 2 of our blog, and we have quite a day in store. Despite last night's late night, at least according to our body clocks, we still woke pretty early. Being awake at 6 AM meant there wasn't a whole lot to do in Monterey, so we headed across the street for a Denny's, a great way to reacquaint ourselves with American cuisine. A couple of grand slams later and we were ready to head off to the whale watching tour we had booked. The 8 AM sailing time felt pretty early when we had booked it, but by now was feeling pretty manageable. Our tour sailed from Moss Landing, which was a 30 to 40 minute drive away, so let's fill you in on some trip details as we drive across. The main purpose of this trip was to head back to Maui, the location of our honeymoon 10 years ago. However, we do not consider a 26-hour overall flight time to be something we want to repeat too often. So we now break the journey up, having a short stopover somewhere along the way. For this trip, reasonable flights were proving elusive, with the best option being flying direct to San Francisco. However, flights from there to Maui were really expensive, $200 plus each. But from LA, they were a bargain, dropping down as low as $80 each. So we jumped at the chance to have a few days exploring Monterey and driving the Pacific Coast Highway, probably our favourite road in the world. A fantastic plan with only a couple of drawbacks. First, this would only give us 2 full days to explore this rather large coastline, and really that is not enough, but it's all we had available if we wanted to be in Maui for the 22nd, our anniversary. We would just have to be selective and cram a few things in. The second bigger problem was the Pacific Coast Highway was closed, at least to through traffic. However, when we booked the trip, we were confident it would reopen in time. In the end, it didn't, but more on that later. But this fact would make today interesting. But first, the whale watching, as we are now at Moss Landing for our Sanctuary Cruise Tour. Sanctuary Cruises are easily our favourite tour provider in the bay, partially as they sail from Moss Landing. Not only is this a beautiful harbour, filled with sea lions, seabirds and super cute sea otters, it's also a lot closer to the areas where the whales feed, meaning more time with the whales and less time cruising around. However, today that was not quite the case. As we headed out of the harbour, we really struggled to get on the whales. After an hour and a half cruising around the bay with no sightings, we finally caught a break and saw spouts in the distance. We arrived at a huge mat of sea lions, all feeding on something under the water, the same food source that was attracting the whales. In the area, we had 3 to 4 groups of 4 to 5 humpbacks, all feeding on this bait ball, and we got some amazing close-up views and looks at the whales as they recovered on the surface before diving down for more food. After 40 to 50 minutes with the whales, the crew were alerted to a large pod of common dolphins, so we steamed off to get a look at those too. A lazy crew could have just stuck with the whales, but instead we got to see this. Hundreds of common dolphins splashing around in the wake, putting on an incredible show. An unforgettable lifetime experience. With that, our tour was done and we headed back to shore, thoroughly happy with the display both the whales, dolphins and our amazing crew had put on for us. We have a full video of this cruise along with our take on the best whale watching in Monterey, and you'll find links to that in the description and above. After the cruise, it was back to Monterey just briefly to gear up and head out along the PCH. Our first stop was Lovers Point, then along the Carmel Headland before hitting the Pacific Coast Highway proper. As we said earlier, the road was still close to through traffic, but we had around 40 miles of road to play with, and these are some of the best parts of the road. We had wanted to drive the whole way, but as this was not possible, we decided it better to drive the out and back part today, and then simply head around the whole section tomorrow on the 101 after a morning at the aquarium. The other option was to visit the aquarium this afternoon and do the out and back in the morning and then drive the 101 diversion afterwards, but that meant a really long day driving and the risk of the coast being sucked in by grey fog all morning. This way would give us the best light, clearer skies and make the long drive tomorrow more manageable. Along the highway we saw some amazing locations. Obviously Bixby Bridge, where we were treated to incredible views of this stunning bridge and even got to see a California condor. Then more stunning vistas from the various pullouts along the way. We headed into the amazing Big Sur Canyon, littered with redwoods and beautiful wildlife and filled with the evocative scents of pine forests. We stopped at the Nepenthe restaurant for coffee overlooking the jaw-dropping coastline and then finally hit McWay Falls with its picture postcard perfect vistas. Just after this, the road is closed and we turned around and headed back, stopping off at Pfeiffer Beach on the way back as the sun drew low in the sky. The sand here has a slight purple hue and the rock formations are truly stunning with the waves crashing through the keyhole section of the rock. You can watch a full video of this epic road trip by clicking above or find the link in the description below. We arrived back in Monterey as darkness fell, tired and hungry after a really long day. We were tempted by heading straight back to the motel for bed, but allowed hunger to keep us awake a little longer, heading to our favourite burger chain anywhere in the world, In-N-Out Burger. A perfect way to finish off a crazy day. Tomorrow was also likely to be manic, as we got things really going on our West Coast road trip, as we powered on through to Santa Barbara with stops at the Monterey Bay Aquarium and Solvang along the way. You are going to want to subscribe to see when that video drops, along with all our new travel content and amazing adventures across the United States. Thanks for watching.